Greetings and welcome to Spin a Yarn Live, the Tea Time Book Club and Crafting Circle, where today we are finally tackling the best of the One Piece arcs until it gets better.
Well, yeah, if you watch or read the anime or manga respectively and you get all the way up to this arc and you get past it and you still don't think that One Piece is for you, then just don't. Yeah, just don't, because
anyways,
so good.
We will talk about all of that, but first, interact with the stream. You can go use the Twitter and go use hashtag #YarnItAll. You can also go to Reddit, r/SpinAYarnLive, and go into the One Piece discussion thread. And let us know what you are working on during this episode. Even if you're not live, if you're watching this later, go ahead, interact with the channel, please. Oh, and what are you working on, my love?
Okay, so I'm still working on that sweater for my friend, but you know that gets kind of boring watching me work on the same thing over and over.
Like me. What are you trying to say?
So, I am now working on, as you can see, this is a very narrow scarf. It's going to be very long. I don't know how long yet. We'll see how much yarn I have. And then there will be a matching hat and gloves to go with it. And it'll be up on sale on my Etsy.
Yetsy.
It's like Yahtzee, except different. On my Etsy store once it is completed and, you know, I actually, like, have a store and stuff. So.
Yeah, you need to get on that.
Hey, I got labels, but I just need to have them printed.
True. I'm working on my same old thing. I don't have any new pins yet. Actually, I have pins, I just haven't got the magnets on them. Because I need to file down the backs of them.
Are you still planning on getting 1.5 bajillion pins when we're on vacation?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I want all of the pins.
We're going to Disney World, and he's gonna get 1.5 bajillion pins.
Yeah. Well, probably not that many.
I mean, that's from Disney.
It is. This,
the coin.
Pirates of the Caribbean coin,
Yeah.
curse coin. That's why you don't want to see me in Moonlight.
It's just because he's so pale.
It is true. And then, of course, I have 2 Pokemon pins. One of them, I think, came from a pre-order of a Pokemon game. And the other one...
Is that not a 1-up box?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. I got them somewhere. Anyway, so that's what I'm working on. What are we drinking?
Okay, so, as some of you know, Paul and I went out west a couple weeks ago. We went to Breckenridge, Colorado. And they have, in the town, they've got 2 different tea stores. And we're still working off of teas from the first one we went to, which is Olive Fusion. You can go to their website.
Which is... there.
Right there. Okay. And they've got, I mean, it's oils and more. They've got a whole bunch of olive oils and balsamic vinegars and salts. And
we kind of flail around when we put stuff up on screen.
Well, because, you know, it's technology stuff. Anyway, they also have loose leaf teas. So this time we are drinking their Milk Oolong loose leaf. Which is made from a lot of things in Taiwan, so I'm not going to try to pronounce them. Because, you know, Taiwanese or Mandarin and Cantonese and those languages are not exactly like Japanese, so I'm not really going to try because it'll sound Japanese and that would just be rude.
That would be very rude.
Just rude. So, but anyway, it is an oolong tea, and it's very, very nice. Like it says milk oolong tea, but much like the Irish whiskey cream, there's not actually any milk in it. Just like there's no whiskey in the Irish whiskey, which, you know.
Boo. No.
But it's a very light tea brewed at 195 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's really very nice.
Is it still too hot for my poor little lips?
No, I think it'll be fine for you.
Okay. Then we will give it a shot. Oh, what happened to my other laptop? Oh, boy.
Technology is dying.
It is me. This is how I let my computer know it's me. Okay. Okay, so So, just going to the chats and the Reddits. We have no live viewers today, so I'm counting on all of you people from the future. Okay, so let's talk One Piece.
Let's talk about Nami's arc.
Oh my goodness.
We only have an hour to talk about it.
Is that all?
Well, less than
We can turn it into a 12-hour episode.
We could.
Little marathon.
We could, but we won't. Alright, look. This is just... In so many ways, this is a fabulous arc. Not only do we get to learn about Nami's backstory, why she does what she does, and...
Why we should hate the bad guy.
And yeah, like all that stuff. But it is a great illustration of the camaraderie of the crew. How well they work together, how they will, in fact, even though we've said before, Luffy is among the youngest of the crew, and he is, of course, a bit of a ditz. He's kind of an airhead, but he is still a captain worth following.
Yeah.
And, you know, everyone
sees
He is
smart when it comes to being a captain.
Yeah, he understands people. He might not understand things like basic physics, but that's okay, because he lives in the One Piece universe, and he's, you know, his body doesn't have to necessarily obey physics, because he's made of rubber. So, there's that. You try getting wrinkles when you're made of rubber.
That is fun.
That is
fan-made video.
A fan-made video, which is quite hilarious, and unfortunately there's only like 6 episodes, which kind of makes me sad. But anyway. So, one of the things that I really liked about this arc is that we know from just the previous arc was Sanji's arc. And we already know that Luffy and Zoro and now Sanji are really the main fighters.
Yeah.
Usopp hasn't really done much. But in this arc, we get to see how, even though he's not as physically capable as they are, he is great at strategy. And, of course, he's an expert marksman.
Yep.
So we get to see him illustrate that by... And also his endurance. You know, he figures out he's not able to outrun the merman, so he's like, okay, I'm going to have to use different tactics. So, and he's not going to be able to muscle through them. So he uses the sake, and then he hides from him for a little bit, and then he essentially lights him on fire. Doesn't let him put the fire out, and then just beats the crap out of him with a hammer.
Well, I love that scene because he knocks out the fishman. It's like, I did it! And then Fishman is like, why you? And he's like, ha, 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 ha.
What's up, Papa? What's up, Papa? What's up, Papa?
What's up, Rubber Band? Yeah.
What's up, Papa?
The Usopp Rubber Band is the best.
It's... So, I've said a couple of times, this is my first time reading through the manga. I've watched the anime. So... It's great because when we get Hachi responding to the rubber band, it's that wonderful delay.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a couple panels later when everyone's like, oh, the octopus guy stood up. What's he going to do? And he's sitting there going... And he's like, oh, I thought there was a rubber band coming at me. And everyone's like, whoa. So that is...
The One Piece universe. Not made up of the brightest bunch.
Not made up of the brightest individuals in the world. No. But oh gosh, it's just so funny. And this is the first time we see Hachi.
Yes.
So, spoilers, he does come back later.
And he's fun. Like, he gives Zoro a ride. Like, of all the fishmen, he's fleshed out and, likable.
Yes. So,
like, he's a little too silly at this moment, but...
He's a little too silly right now, but when we get to know him and we get to know his backstory and everything later on, you're just like, aw, okay.
Triple sword catch.
Yeah, yes. But he's not entirely stupid because he knows Zoro is injured, so he's just trying to kind of tire him out. And he also knows that Luffy is, of course, underwater, and he's like, if I keep Zoro occupied, then he won't be able to go and, you know, save Luffy or whatever.
So, one thing that strikes me is you were mentioning both the camaraderie of the crew and of Usopp's endurance. And that's something that we get a really good scene somewhere. So, I made...
you made notes. Because, you know, it's easier than trying to flip back and forth the pages, which we've done
so. In this panel, everybody thinks Usopp is dead. Okay, actually, yeah, let's do that one first. Oh my goodness. So, Usopp catches up with Nami, who is in Arlong Park, and she basically stabs him.
And you can see that there.
And she's like, it's business, I had no choice. And he's like, Nami, you... And then she's like, die quietly.
Mm-hmm.
And he does.
He does.
Now, he doesn't actually die because she stabbed herself. And, of course I'm sure that the blade probably actually got into him a little bit as well. Because it's big blade and she has a small little hand.
Yeah.
But
the point is she obviously trying to protect him and says, die quietly.
And he kind of caught on and did that. And then later, after he's somewhat injured by that, he wanders, catches up to
the guys,
Zoro and the rest of the guys when Sanji is upset with Zoro. So Sanji goes to kick Zoro. Zoro blocks, and then Usopp's face ends up in the way.
Mm-hmm.
And he just gets completely knocked out. Of course, Luffy finds out. It's like, Usopp, did Nami do this to you?
And
he's
like,
just dead.
That was us.
And then Sanji's like, I'm here too, buddy. And then Usopp gets angry at him. But here's the other point, is Usopp was just out. Got angry at Sanji and then has things to say about Nami. And you can see Zoro over here. And if you're first reading it, you don't really notice it. It just, oh, what's he doing? Or, oh, he got up quick or something. But one thing with Zoro, and it's also kind of apparent in the anime, this is when Zoro starts to realize that Usopp has some endurance. Mm-hmm. He can deal with a punishment.
He can
and that will
beat up.
Punish Usopp later on, so just keep that in mind.
Yeah. Because, again, Zoro being the first mate, being the first crew member to enter into the crew, when it was just him and Luffy, he fulfills the role of a first mate. To say to the letter might not be the best way to describe it, but he does it flawlessly.
Yeah.
I mean...
And for being kind of this solo swordsman, he also kind of gets people. Because we also get that thing when Arlong is saying how Nami forgave the death of a parent for money. And of course Nami has a little look in her face. And Zoro notices it. And then he's just kind of sitting there with his head tilted. It's like, okay, I think I see what's going on. Or there's something more going on. And so he tests it by trying to drown himself.
And of course Nami was like, shit! And she jumps in and saves him, and he's like, I didn't think you would watch a man die. So it's just like...
Of course that causes problems for Nami, which is why later when Usopp showed up too, she does that stabbing thing.
But this whole arc is about Nami.
Yes.
And she left, and when you try to leave Luffy's crew after he's decided that you're part of the crew, he's just kind of like, no. So he has to go and get her back. And then he doesn't care what her past is. Her sister goes to explain to everybody, and he's like, but this is what she says. And I think this is what it is. She says, I will tell you why Nami is the way she is, and then you have to leave. So Luffy says, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. And he goes for a walk. Zoro as well is like, yeah, no, I'm totally listening. He falls asleep. So as much as, the idea obviously is we don't care where she came from. We just know that she's on our crew now and we need to help her. But the other side of that might be, well, if we listen to her, then we have to leave. But I'm not listening.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the big things about Luffy is he doesn't care about the past. He doesn't care what happened to you in the past. He cares about what steps you are taking towards the future. Mm-hmm. And we see that with Kobe. When first he was like bemoaning his fate, Luffy didn't really care. But when Kobe decided to stand up for himself, Luffy's like, oh, now you're willing to, walk and improve your life. Now I'll help. Mm-hmm. But yeah, as far as what happens in the past, Luffy just does not care.
He doesn't care. Because there's the whole scene where, the scene where if you're not crying, I mean, you should have been crying with the backstory of Bellemere and what happened to her. But if you're not crying or have tears in your eyes when Nami is literally stabbing herself in the arm where the tattoo is, Luffy comes, stops her, and she's saying, why do you even care? You have no idea what's going on. You don't understand anything. He's like, no. I mean, you're right. I don't understand anything. No, I don't know what's going on. And she's still trying to get him to go away. But then she turns around and she's just like, help me. And he's like, there we go.
And, he's, of course I will. And then he calls everyone else.
And the guys are all
just so epic. If you're not hearing that anime, dun, 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 dun.
Well, then first you haven't watched the anime. But
probably. I mean, it's okay. They give you a big doom sound effect right there, so.
You have a kitty.
Hey, kitty.
Don't eat my cookies.
But, of course,
I said don't eat my cookies.
But, of course, the boys have heard of her backstory.
Yeah. Well, Zoro might have. He was asleep at the time.
We don't know about Zoro.
Yeah, Zoro's just Zoro.
Zoro already knows that she's going to be on the crew because Luffy... And he trusts Luffy's judgment. And if Luffy doesn't care about the backstory,
then why
Zoro doesn't really need to.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Now, whether he knows or not is hard to say. He tends to look out more for the crew. So...
He does.
He may have just been feigning sleep or listening while sleeping because Zoro.
So the difference... I was telling Paul, because, again, first time reading the manga, but very familiar with the anime. The anime, when you're reading a manga, especially if you're a fast reader, you don't really... Sometimes you don't take the time to absorb the panels and what's happening in the panels and that kind of stuff. Yeah. But in the case of that particular scene, there's not a lot going on in the panels in terms of what's actually physically there. So the scene kind of runs through pretty quickly. But if you watch the anime, the pacing is done very, very well. There's a little bit of extra of Nami yelling at Luffy to just go away. And he's just standing there. And then finally she turns around and says, Luffy, help me.
Yeah.
And then he just puts his hat on her head. And she does a little flashback.
To him saying, never touch my treasure.
No one touches my treasure. Don't touch my hat, it's my treasure. And she's just...
now I have his hat on me.
Yeah, but it's also kind of the signal of, well, he doesn't want his hat to get damaged because he's going to go fight. Because that's what happened with Buggy. His hat got damaged and he freaked out. And she fixed it for him, which was good. But yeah, so now he's just like, all right, you look after this. And in saying that, he's kind of saying, we're not abandoning you. Right. We're going to come back. We're going to deal with this. You hang on to this. Because I'm definitely coming back for the hat.
Which is kind of exactly what that hat meant in the first place, because Shanks gave the hat to Luffy and said, I expect you to give it back to me on the open sea. Mm-hmm. I didn't really think about that until just now. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But yes, the hat is important. Mm-hmm. And I've made a mess of things. Okay.
So then we get the fight. And again, the fight is fun to read in the manga, but having already seen it and experienced it on the screen, One Piece fights are fast. So I think it's a manga that transitioned very, very well, in my opinion, into anime. And
Oda Sensei he's already really good, but he does get better at pacing in manga format.
Yeah, he does.
Like later arcs, the pacing is really good in the manga. But yes, in this early stage, the anime, I feel, is definitely better than the manga right now, just because we can have the perfect pacing, we can have the emotional voices and the background music.
And, the music, of course, is a big thing. Yeah. I mean, everyone knows how music can add to a scene or take away from a scene.
If it's bad.
If it's done poorly. But one thing that wasn't in the manga that was in the anime is, after everything's said and done and Nami is going to be free and she's going to leave, she's walking out of her house. And the idea is that, like, Belmir's spirit kind of pushes her out of the house a little bit. And it's another thing that you're just kind of like,
Yeah.
And so we don't get that in the manga, which is kind of like, but because Oda Sensei is very close when it comes to the anime stuff, it might have been a scene that he thought of later. That he was like, this would be a good scene to fit here.
Yeah, it's like, how can
we make the fans cry even more? Let me think. Bastard.
But there's also a lot of humor in this.
Yes.
And this is, again, we were talking last week about Dresden Files,
Blood Rights.
Blood Rights. How that's kind of the Dresden Files book.
Do you want one?
Yes, please. That really takes off. You needed all the previous books to get there, but that's the one that's really the first of the really good ones. And that's kind of what Nami's arc for One Piece is. You still need to know about One Piece's previous arcs to really get invested in this arc. But this one is where it really starts taking off, and all future primary arcs which exist in the manga, so not the added in filler arcs, but all of the primary arcs have the similar thing. You have a lot of comedy, you have a lot of stupidity, and then you have a lot of drama and possibly tears.
It's very, very true. But, so what this arc really does is it solidifies for Nami that these are people who will not only not abandon her, because her village didn't abandon her at all.
Yeah.
But they can also, they can stand by that. They can defend themselves. Right. They can beat up the big bad and all that stuff. Because Luffy doesn't know what has happened exactly. All he knows is his navigator is crying.
Yeah.
That's why he goes to fight Arlong. He busts in, he says, "Which one of you is Arlong?" And the guy, you know, Arlong's sitting there, and he's like, "Oh, I'm Arlong, you know, what?" And two fishermen get in Luffy's way, and they're talking to him, and he just slams their heads together, and he's like, "Get out of my way, you!"
Yeah.
And he just
punches, a big punch, yeah.
Punches him, and the guy, and Arlong is like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "You made my navigator cry."
I also love around that scene, when he thinks about the pinwheel.
Oh yes, the pinwheel.
But he starts destroying all the mermen, and Sanji's like, "You just rushed in here," and Luffy's like, "You know, I'm not gonna get hurt."
He's like, "I'm not gonna lose."
Yeah.
Sanji's like, "That's not the point.
You need to
leave some for us." And he goes, "Oh, okay, right."
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, sorry."
Yeah.
And then that's the point where he ends up getting trapped and out of the fight for the first half.
Yeah, he gets out of the fight for a little bit, which is, you know, like, eh.
Which, again, you see in later fights where Luffy will go after the big boss. But then he trusts his comrades to take care of everyone else. But he also doesn't try and take on everyone himself. He still saves some of the generals and whatnot for Zoro and Sanji, who definitely...
And other fighters who will come along.
Yeah.
And even though they're not much of fighters now, trust me, Usopp and Nami will come into their own. I mean, Nami's already great with the stick. She smacks people in the face.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
And so, with Usopp, it cannot be understated that he took on a merman.
He did.
Like, not just any merman, but one of Arlong's generals, like, or whatnot.
Lieutenants or whatever they're called. Yeah.
He took on a full pirate merman, who is known to be like 10 times stronger than humans and all this other stuff.
And he's killed Marines and all of this.
And now, was he the weakest of the generals? Maybe, I don't know. But, I mean, you can't really tell. He's pretty powerful with his bullet spits. But
it's interesting, you know, in the manga they do smek.
Yeah.
It's his sound effect, which is kind of with a little heart,
smek,
you know, because he's got such big lips. But in the anime, the sound effect is chew, 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 chew.
Yeah, true. But yeah, so Usopp needs some confidence. But he's legitimately taken on one of the big bads.
He will get there. He will get there.
Yeah. And that's definitely one of the fun things, is watching Usopp grow.
It is a lot of fun to watch all of the characters grow. Because already we know that, you know, Usopp, Luffy, and Zoro are the three big fighters. And for a while, that's the way it's going to be. They're going to be the big fighters, which is fine. But as we gain more crew members, and then it's just so interesting to watch, as it's really slow. It's just as slow as if you watch very carefully throughout the episodes and the illustrations and everything. While no one else is, the physiques don't really change until after a certain event, Nami and Usopp, their hair gets steadily longer. Yeah. It's really, really subtle until at some point you realize, wow, Usopp's hair has gotten past his shoulders and Nami's hair is almost down to her shoulder. And, it's a really, really subtle thing. But as that happens, their fighting styles and techniques just evolve.
Yeah.
And what's fun is that Luffy will, like with the pinwheel, he'll take ideas from that. Now in the manga, it wasn't as illustrated that he got the idea of spinning Momu around because of the pinwheel. He calls it pinwheel. But in the anime, there's actually the brief flashback of him looking at Gen's pinwheel. And he's just like, this is a cool idea. And he's just flipping everything around. And everyone's like, oh my god. And poor Momu. Like, they bring him in. And they're like, oh my gosh, Momu, you need to take care of these, people who have infiltrated Arlong Park. And he's already got this big old bump on his head. And he goes. And he sees it's Luffy and Sanji. And he just turns around to leave. And Arlong's like, ugh, why are you leaving? And he's like, okay, I'll fight. And they're just like, that's hilarious that you think you can fight.
Yeah. Let's see. What do I have? So, we also have the in-between chapters. Now, if you've watched the anime, you don't get these little chapter beginning scenes.
Yeah, these little cover art pieces.
After episode, I think, 44... or 45, around there, we get a couple episodes doing Buggy. I don't know if there's episodes for that one.
I think it's just like one episode, isn't it?
I think it's two.
2 or 3.
I don't know. But, so of course, in these chapter titles, we get the conclusion of Buggy with the mysterious woman finding their crew, saving Buggy's crew because they needed to be saved.
They were going to be eaten by humans.
Yeah. And then we get some just random...
we get some random images.
Random images
of
for
Helmeppo.
each... Well, no, first of each of the crew members.
Yeah.
Ending with... After we know Nami's backstory... That went right in the tea.
It did. Careful.
This scene... of just
her mom, she and her sister
just
having
a good
spaghetti,
time. Yeah.
And they're laughing, everything's great, and you're
everything's
just like...
fun. And Oda Sensei will do this. He'll put these little happy scenes of people that we know are dead.
And sometimes...
And we go...
And sometimes he does it when they're all grown up. Like, he's like, oh, look, all whatever of them are, like, fighting together, and you're just like, I hate you.
I hate you.
I hate you so much. That will never happen.
Because they're dead.
Rude.
But then, after those scenes, after those tears, we start getting another little mini story with the chapter beginnings.
With Kobe and Helmeppo in the Marines.
Kobe and Helmeppo in the Marines. Kobe's hard worker. If you watch the anime, the episode 45 has Helmeppo working and Kobe being super excited about Luffy's bounty. But in the chapter openings, Kobe is always working and doing something.
And Helmeppo is goofing off or something. Yeah.
But they get assigned to a ship that has to bring Helmeppo's father to the death penalty, and we get this scene
of him being very worried because he's like, he's still my dad, and are they going to kill him?
Because we haven't had enough crying to this point. Now, granted, in these little opening scenes, it's not really enough to get crying, and really Helmeppo we didn't really enjoy at the beginning, but it starts humanizing Helmeppo a lot.
Yeah.
Showing that Helmeppo and Kobe are getting to be really close friends.
He's still round, but he's starting to...
Yeah, he's starting to...
He starts out really, really round, and then he loses his baby fat.
I mean, even this is way more lanky than baby fat.
Yeah.
Than when we first met Kobe.
Because he was super round. They make comment about this, like, later on in the series. They meet up again, and Luffy and Zoro are like, you were so much more round back then. And listen, you know how One Piece doesn't really do this. One Piece doesn't really have any really hot anime boys, you know?
That's true.
But when Kobe gets older...
Yeah.
He's like the exception. Like, Oda Sensei's like, we need one really pretty guy.
What is that called? Shoujo?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, shonen is more for boys and shoujo is more for girls. Yeah, shonen jump. Yeah.
Is there a Shoujin jump for girls?
No.
Well, of course not, because Japan. Mm-hmm.
I think there might be some magazines. I don't know what they are. But yeah, so we start seeing that, and we get introduced to a ship's captain or something wearing a dog mask. Remember him for later.
The puppy mask. Yes, except Helmeppo's dad. What's his name?
Morgan,
yeah.
Captain Morgan.
Yeah, Captain Morgan slashes him. But it's like, the reason I'm laughing is because when you figure out who this particular vice admiral is, you're just like, I see.
Yes.
Well, if I had to guess what he was doing and why he just stood there to get slashed, I'd have a guess.
But we don't learn about that until after Alabasta.
We don't learn about that until after Enies Lobby.
Is it Enies Lobby?
It's Enies Lobby. It's a long way away.
It's a long way away.
And it's hilarious.
But what he is now, and, spoilers. It's not big spoilers. He ends up taking on Kobe and Helmeppo.
Yeah, because they're on the ship right now.
Yeah.
So they're on his ship.
And so we're kind of following them in these little mini stories in the chapter openings, which is super nice. Things are happening.
Things are happening. Anywho, so yeah, we learn all this stuff. We get to see Usopp in a bit of action. We actually get to see the extent of the wounds that were inflicted upon Zoro as well, because Arlong just rips him right off, and you're just like, ooh. And to Oda Sensei's credit, that scar remains.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even to this 900th chapter that, I think was just published 2 weeks ago or whatever, it's still there.
Yeah.
You can see the scar across his chest, and it's a testament to how powerful Mihawk is.
Mm-hmm. Well,
that he was able to... because
Mihawk cut a ship in half when he first appeared.
Mihawk cut a ship in half. But if you think about other things,
yeah.
Zoro doesn't carry any other scars. Luffy doesn't carry any scars except for the one under his eye, which he did to himself.
Yeah, he did to himself before he ate the fruits.
Yeah, so he was just being made of rubber, you bounce back. So he doesn't really have any scars. He will later for reasons.
Which involve tears.
Which involves me being super upset at Oda Sensei. And then
goodness.
after we're super upset at Oda Sensei, he tells us a little story. And you get even more upset at Oda Sensei. You're just like...
This is Oda Sensei for you.
It's great. And then, but then a couple chapters later, the other thing happens and you're just like... Anyway. That wasn't really very... much talking about this particular chapter.
No.
But so, again, having watched the anime and now read the manga, I have to say I kind of enjoy watching the anime a little bit more. Because since the anime was developed later, and Oda Sensei has, a great, huge influence over the anime, it's nice that he kind of adds in some scenes, and then we get maybe a little bit more character stuff going on, like with Hachi, because in the anime when we first meet Hachi, he's not gotten the pig out for Momu to come and eat. He's fishing, and you get to see how kind of like dim-witted but sweet he is, because he accidentally catches himself, and then
my goodness, yeah.
Zoro has, completely decimated what crew is actually there. Hachi didn't hear a thing, somehow.
Yeah, see...
That's the weird bit.
In the manga, I feel like Hachi was out trying to feed Momu, trying to find him, while Zoro was doing that. Then there's nothing left to do, so Zoro was sitting in Arlong's throne, and that's when Hachi probably either resurfaces or whatnot and comes back and starts fishing.
We see him just sitting there. Oh, well, maybe.
So I think it's supposed to be that Hachi came back and started doing the fishing after everything happened.
Possibly. Oh, you know what? Maybe he did, though, because he came back from transporting that Marine back to the ship.
Oh, that's right. That's true, too.
So that must be it. And then he came back and he's fishing everything. And then he's just, he and Zoro are just having this nice little conversation. Oh, you must be a guest of Arlong's. And Zoro's like,
yeah,
I guess. Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah.
And so Hachi's like, oh, okay, do you want to go see Arlong? He's at the village. Get in the pot. I'll take you over there. And Zoro's just, okie dokie. It's just like, he's kind of, he's a formidable fighter. We see later, he's not as good as Sanji. He's not as good as Zoro, even though Zoro is really injured.
Yeah.
And it's nice to kind of make the point that Zoro didn't want to kill Hachi, because he says later if he had just stayed laying down, the wounds might have healed. But he got up and tried to move again, and he went to go deal with Sanji, and that didn't work very well. No. So it's like he wasn't gonna kill him, because we don't really know. Is the implication that he killed all of the other fishmen? At least one of them was still alive, because he was able to tell Arlong that Rononora Zoro did.
And that's definitely we know Zoro is a killer.
Straight up.
I have done something so strange.
Stop doing things that are strange.
No one
else in the crew is really a cold-blooded killer, but we know that Zoro is.
Yeah. And we know we learn a bit more either later on or whatnot, that Luffy does not kill.
Yeah.
Luffy wants everyone to stay alive. Mm-hmm. And, maybe, learn better from their ways. It's like, if I punch you enough, then you'll agree with me and then you'll be a good guy again.
Yeah. Something like that. Oddly enough, it works for some people.
It does. And we will talk about that later.
Not most people, but some people.
But a surprisingly amount of people.
I know, but it's just funny because one of them becomes fanboy.
But we start seeing, and again, this is Zoro paying attention to his captain, not having it spelled out to the audience. We never get a scene where Luffy tells Zoro,
"Don't kill him."
Don't kill.
Yeah.
I think there might be one sometime later, but
when we get to Whiskey Peak, he gets a little upset because Zoro.
There are things that happen at Whiskey Peak.
There are things that happen at Whiskey Peak, but we'll get to that when we get to that.
But what you see is Zoro starts using less and less lethal force.
He does,
and starts improving his swordsmanship to not kill people, just do things the Luffy way. And we're never told that. We're never told that that's what he's doing or whatnot. But you can just see it going on.
That's
part of that, art evolution-ish. Which is also another really cool thing about Zoro. He's so awesome. And Oda-sensei.
Yeah. Because it's so funny. Because they're all kids. Nobody... Let's see. Later on, we will get crew members who are older than Zoro. Zoro is currently the eldest crew member at 19. 19. We will get...
And you wish you were that buff at 19.
Yeah. The next crewmate that we're actually going to get is going to be even younger than Luffy and Usopp. He's going to be the youngest member of the crew. And then the next crew member, the next actual official crew member to join, I believe is the same age as Zoro. But that particular crew member doesn't stay on the ship. And then we'll get another crew member who I believe...
Well, let's not do too many spoilers.
Well, no, it's not really spoilers, they're all
late teenagers.
Right, but you see them get older. Like, you do see them progress from that. Because even though, you know, they're in their late teens, you know, they're past 15 mark, so they're getting later. You see the evolution of them turning into adults. Like, with everybody. I think the transformation is most obvious in Nami because of reasons. But as you say, the art evolution it's very subtle, and it's really very interesting to watch. Or to read, or however you get your One Piece fix.
Audiobooks. That'd be the worst way to get One Piece.
Terrible!
Great for Doctor Who, not so good for One Piece.
Yeah, like, I don't know.
And then Luffy stretched.
And he said, Gomu Gomu no.
And then he punched. And then he punched again. So, and then there's more punches.
So we get... So every once in a while, we get the super serious face on Luffy. And in one of them, it's, you know, you made my navigator cry.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand why she's crying. He doesn't understand the situation.
Because it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. But amongst their fighting, they go into the building and they get into Nami's room.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Where there are maps everywhere. And Arlong talks about how she, you know, even though she's a human, she has this incredible gift to be able to make these extremely accurate and beautiful maps and all this stuff. And Luffy's kind of looking around, and he finds her desk and her pen. And the pen has dried blood on it.
Yeah.
You know, indicating that she was forced to draw to the point of her hand bleeding. And, you know, Arlong takes his giant sword, and he puts it next to Luffy and all this. And I guess the idea is he's going to cut Luffy's head off or something. And then Luffy...
he can't move this sword.
He can't move it. Like, Luffy's just grab it just like this. And he cannot move it. And this is when we see when Luffy gets really, really pissed. Having realized that his crew member... She wasn't a crew member at the time, but that really doesn't matter. She's his crew member now, and she was forced to stay in this room and do this thing that she loves to do, but being forced to do it against her will until she was in physical distress. And he was just like, oh no.
Oh no.
I am destroying this room. She hates this room, and I am obliterating it. And while... we watch as he's kicking everything, and Arlong's getting all upset at him, but it's it's juxtaposed with Nami seeing this. She can't see the fight, but she understands instantly. Luffy is destroying the room.
Yeah.
And he's destroying it for her.
And that's the other thing, is because Arlong talks about how he understands why Luffy wants Nami so that he can use her. Luffy's like... Use? So, like, in the fight, there are stacks. Like, there's maybe hundreds of feet of stacks of paper of all these maps that Nami has drawn. Mm-hmm. And Luffy starts destroying her work. Mm-hmm. You know, not asking her, because he doesn't need to, but that's the right thing to do. And it's when she starts seeing all these maps flying, it's made very clear to her that that Luffy does not want to use her, want to, you know, profit off of her insofar as, you know, that way. But because he's just destroying all of this work that's very valuable. Mm-hmm. I mean, let's face it, those maps are probably extremely valuable. Mm-hmm. Like, and he's just destroying it because he knows it caused her pain, and that was the right decision, which is another one of those things, like, how did Luffy know that was the right decision? Because if I was in there, I wouldn't be 100% sure. It's like, yes, these were pain, but you put a lot of work into it. Are these something that you would want to take with you? We don't know, or I don't know, but Luffy made the right decision. He knew Nami well enough that he made the right decision, and that's... He's
very good at judging people.
Yeah.
And while it's kind of clumsy and awkward now, oh my gosh, later in the series, he will he'll just like look at a crew member when they're doing something and just instantly be like, I see what's happening here. All right. And it's really cool.
Yeah. And that's why, and I think I mentioned this before, but like one of the top YouTube channels or whatnot did this list of stupidest anime characters, and Luffy got number 1, and it's like, really? You haven't actually read One Piece, have you?
Or watched further into the series. Because, yeah, here he's still young, he's still inexperienced, but that isn't to say he doesn't know people.
Yeah. He's smart in a special way.
And he's
because he doesn't need book learning. He doesn't need to learn how to use sword.
He don't need no book learning. That's right.
He doesn't need to know how to cook. He doesn't need to know how to lie.
Right. He's like, I know I'm terrible at all of this. That's why I need a crew.
Yeah.
I need a swordsman on my crew. I need a navigator on my crew. I need a cook on my crew. I even need somebody who can lie on my crew.
I still love it because, like, oh, well, what can you do? I can beat you.
Yes.
Oh my god, that line. I was like, oh,
it's a good one. It's just like, oh, I can beat the crap out of you. That's what I can do. I'm gonna do it right now. Yeah. So, and it's great because he does only have, like, right now he has very few crew members, and truth be told, he doesn't really get very many more.
Yeah.
You know, it's a pretty
he says
crew.
Even early on that he's looking for about 10 crew members.
He's looking for about 10 crew members.
First thing he needs is a musician.
Very important, musician. Hilariously enough, we don't actually get a musician until way down the line.
Yeah.
We're going to get a couple of other crewmates first before we finally find a musician. And what a musician he is!
Oh my goodness, that's going to be another one of these arcs that we talk about and we're like, oh my god, this arc!
It's a really good
like every arc.
He's just a really good character. Also,
yes. His
character design is...
Yeah. Anyways, no spoilers.
But yes. So, it's an arc that never gets old. You can rewatch it. I mean, you don't want to rewatch it or reread it, like, too many times back to back, because it's kind of like reading Edgar Allan Poe. You might get a little depressed after a while. Because of Bellemere and
oh my goodness.
all that jazz. And then the relationship with her sister, you know, she was forced to get a tattoo, and then her sister volunteered to get a tattoo when she was 10.
Yeah.
Okay, she was 10. Nami was 8 when she got the tattoo, and her sister's just like, no, I got a tattoo too. I'm just like you.
And then, of course, Nami gets tattoo removed, but it's going to leave permanent scars, so she gets another tattoo. So we beat Arlong. We have big, huge celebration, which is hilarious because Luffy cannot find the ham-topped fruit.
He can't find this one, like, hors d'oeuvre. Like,
that
Sanji, like, just ate it, and he's like, where is it? And he goes to look for it. He can never find it.
And he gets so upset at Sanji later because of that.
Couldn't find it.
And then we can do a little flashback to what new tattoo Nami got, and it's a pinwheel with a tangerine. Tangerine, of course, for Bellemere. Pinwheel for what's his face?
Gensan.
And
we get the little
somebody
flashback.
asked Gensan about that, and
because he's not wearing the pinwheel anymore. They're like, what happened to your pinwheel? And he goes, I don't need it anymore.
And we get the flashback. The reason he has a pinwheel this whole time is because Nami went and stopped crying around him.
Because he had a scary face.
So he put a pinwheel on, which Bellemere thought wasn't going to work.
Silly.
And then Nami started laughing. So
he's
he's worn this pinwheel because of Nami this whole time. All these years.
And so as they're sailing away, you see on Bellemere's grave is a tangerine.
And a pinwheel.
And
you cry again. Like, you're like, no, we are done with the crying. No more crying. Stop it, Oda Sensei.
It's just
Stop
like,
it.
oh my gosh. So it is a wonderful arc. It's kind of the beginning of the longer arcs.
Yep.
Where they definitely have a little bit more meat on their bones. Now.
And I mentioned... Oh, go ahead. Finish.
Well, I was just going to say the next arc. I'm trying to think. Do they get to Logtown next?
Yes.
Yes. So the next arc is not
too bad.
Terribly long. It's more it's them getting ready to embark for the Red Line.
Yeah. And I planned out all the One Piece arcs that we're going to do. Do I have it up? Oops.
Can you blow the candle out? The teapot's empty. Thank you.
Yes. I can do that thing.
I'm gonna make some more. The lady said we could re-steep this about 3 times.
No. How do I? Okay, I'll have to look. But I planned it out so that each One Piece episode that we do is about 25 to 35 chapters, I do believe.
Okay.
It's either chapters. Yeah, it's chapters.
Because the arcs start to fluctuate.
Yeah.
They start to fluctuate a lot. I mean, because to say that the next couple of arcs are really arcs, it's not really true. And I don't know, because in the anime in Logtown, when they're about to disembark, they're collecting supplies before they go on the Red Line. And in the anime, there's a bunch of little side stories that has to do with everybody, because they kind of separate out while they're in town. The best one consisting of, in my opinion, when Zoro gets his 2 new swords. Because if you'll recall, in the previous arc when we got Sanji, his 2 other swords were shattered. Not the sword that he got when he was at the dojo. Yeah, not Queen's sword, obviously. But he gets 2 new swords.
He would have cracked the world open if that shattered.
Hell yeah. He gets 2 new katana, and oh my gosh, they're so much fun. One of them is a lot of fun.
Anyways, so I've planned out somewhere between 25 and 35 chapters each of our episodes. And we have a bunch of arcs coming up that'll be 2 of our episodes per arc. And then finally, when we're down at chapter 700, so that's going to be a couple years from now.
It's going to be a ways.
There's an arc that's 3 of our episodes long. And I think the current arc is probably going to end up there. Because the current arc is going to be 3 as well. So now he's starting to make them even longer than the long arcs we're coming up on. So buckle up.
Current arc is hilarious. Just when you think you knew everybody's backstory.
Anyways. So yes, next One Piece episode that we do will cover Logtown, Reverse Mountain, Whiskey Peak, and Little Garden. So it's a lot of things happening together. That's going to push up to the 34 chapters together, chapters 96 to 129. I do not know the anime episodes. I might be able to find out really quick.
Well,
but
again, anime and manga, there's going to be some differences. The anime has some side arcs that we don't get in the manga. The manga has some side arcs we don't get in the anime.
So anime episodes 45, 48 to 53, skipping the fillers. Skip that.
Yeah, because there is a filler arc after we get into the Grand Line, which...
Then episodes 62 and 63, 64 to 67. Do watch 68 and 69, because that's going to be the Kobe and Helmeppo arc. Just a couple episodes about what they're doing, what we're getting in all the chapter
The little
starts.
chapter headers, yeah.
And then... episodes 70 to 77. So basically, if you want to watch the Buggy side arc, watch from episodes 45 to 77 for the next one. So that's a good 30 episodes, whereas
just for Buggy's side arc?
No.
No, okay.
2 episodes for Buggy's side arc.
Oh.
But if you start back with him. Okay. Now, there is filler. There's a Warship Island arc, which... we generally skip when we watch the anime. That's not in the manga.
Yeah, and it doesn't really have any bearing on the actual story.
Yeah.
It's an interesting little bit of mythology.
And that's a good 7 episodes long. So if you take out that, then we're back down to 23. And yeah, so...
we get Whiskey Peak. Then we get Drum Island.
Yeah.
Drum Island is when things get interesting.
Yeah. So this next episode that we do, we'll go back to kind of just... standard talking things, and then we're going to start getting into the big Nami arc style arcs.
Yes.
Where things go on.
Where things happen, we get reveals, we get new crewmates, we get lots of fun stuff.
Okay.
Like that one character who is hilarious.
So I think we're about wrapping up.
We're wrapping up.
So post in either Twitter or the subreddit, hashtag yarn it all or r/spin-a-yarn-live. Let us know how far you got done.
I got pretty far. I got like, maybe 2 inches, 3 inches. It's it's easy when it's narrow like this.
I had some...
The coloration is making kind of a weird snaky pattern. So...
I got about 25 stitches.
That's good.
Not really.
So, next week will be our final week before we break for 2 weeks.
And we will be doing...
We'll be reading The Keepers.
Summon the Keeper by Tanya Huff.
The first in the Keepers trilogy.
Trilogy.
And it's actually a legit trilogy. We're not messing with it.
They were supposed to be saving the world, not running a B&B where Hell was one of the guests. With Kitty, apparently.
We've not read this series.
No.
It was recommended by Paula's mom.
Yep.
So we're gonna give it a whirligig.
And then we're going to take 2 weeks off, and then after that we're going to finally finish the Hitchhiker's trilogy, which is in quotes, where we'll be doing mostly harmless.
And I will say I do remember the end of this book, and it makes me laugh. It makes me laugh. I don't know if it'll make everybody laugh. It makes me laugh. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's one of those ends that we don't know if he was planning to write more, but he did die, which is unfortunate.
The author.
Not the
characters.
And we did get one book that was compiled of all of his notes called Salmon of a Doubt. And so that has like little snippets of stories and pieces. So he may have been planning to make another one. It's hard to tell.
But yeah,
this also works as a ending.
It's a good ending. Like I said, I laugh. I remember reading the last paragraph and then I just burst out laughing. And my sister from the other room was like, "Did you finish it?"
Yeah.
Yes, I finished it. She goes, "Good ending, huh?" I'm just like, yeah, it's... What?
Well, it is Hitchhiker's Guide.
It is Hitchhiker's Guide. But from what I remember, I enjoyed at least the end of this book. Because if you've been watching some of our other episodes, it's been kind of a hit or miss.
Yeah.
Because for me, it can be a little difficult to read some of these books written by white men from the 60s or 70s. It can be a little hard and a little trying, so I'm very happy that we're coming to the end of this particular series. I thought the next book we were reading was Myth.
No. Myth isn't well. We have Keepers, Hitchhikers, Akita, and then Myth.
Ooh, Akita! I'm excited about Akita. Do we have Akita?
We only have 2 of the 9.
Okay.
We need to order those. But Battle Angel Akita, it's an interesting take. So we'll talk about that later.
As you can imagine, because seeing the previews of this coming out this summer, I believe, the movie coming out, I got interested because I was like, this looks familiar. It seems familiar, and if you've ever watched the anime music video Hell 3, which is about an hour long...
AMV Hell 3, yeah.
AMV Hell 3. That's the one that I've seen the most. And there are a couple of scenes from this anime, which is why I recognized it. I was like, where does this look familiar?
Yeah, I read it. I did want to keep grabbing the manga. I don't know what happened. I think I went to college or something.
Well,
but
I mean, I wanted to keep grabbing Hellsing. I only have 1, 2, and 3 of the Hellsing manga. I know it's done. It's got 10 volumes, but I just don't have the other 7.
Yeah, we put up our manga collection and it seems so small.
It really does.
I think we donated half of the manga collection because there was a lot of books that we weren't reading. Because I'm missing some of the manga that I was like, oh, I thought I'd read it again, and then they're not there, and I'm like, oh, I must have donated them. I mean, they weren't good manga.
Yeah.
But it was like, oh,
Well, we'll keep doing. I'd like to keep reading Triple X Holic.
Yeah, so we have a couple shelves up there, 2 big shelves above the screen here that you can't see, because you can only see here, which is there.
Yep.
Actually, back there. About there.
Anyway, they're up there. They're near the top of the room.
Because we need to get shelves behind us, because right now you see a big blank wall with the window casting a big glare over here.
But it's kind of boring, except for when Osiris jumps up and is cute.
Yeah. So, we need to do that. I also need to get this just kind of posted somewhere. I don't know if it can actually be seen if you're watching in full screen. If you're on a cell phone, I'm sure you can't read what that says.
Yeah, absolutely not. But anyway.
But you should be on full screen while you're doing crafting projects.
That's the idea. We were just trying to entertain people while they craft.
And so that you know, if you're picking up the manga of One Piece for that future episode, which
it's a ways away,
is April 7th is not right. That's next week.
April 7th is not right.
Is June 30th, so a couple months. But those are going to be volumes 11, 12, all the way through 13. Yeah. So just 11 through 13.
Oh, cool.
13.
Yeah,
so that's actually less actual mangas than this time, because this was in 4 different volumes.
It was, but it was, a little bit in volume 8, and then it's a little bit in volume 11.
Yeah, it's mostly just the 2.
Yeah. So, but yeah, thank you for joining us. Please join us next week for Summon the Keeper. Or not. I don't know if you've read it and you're like, they're not going to like this book. I don't know.
No, it's going to be great.
Anyway, I'm going to read the back of it.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining. People of future, still go into the Reddit and Twitter. Interact with stream. Yep. We love you.
Show us what you got.
Show us what you got.
Can you make a little mini scarf? Challenge.
Okay.
Challenge.
Do we have an ending? I keep asking this every time. I think me asking if we have an ending is the ending.
That has become the ending.
Okay.
Bye now.
Do we have an ending?
No.